You're live.
Okay.
All right, kicking off the second session of the Overload Classic. We have Miguel Ramirez opening with 145 kilos. No lift. Up next in the men's raw sub-junior 74 kilo category is Rudy Gutierrez is opening up with 150 kilos. The bar is loaded for Rudy Gutierrez, opening with 150 kilos. That moved like an opener.
But he did get a red. Looks like a red from a side judge for depth. But all you need is 2. Just a majority decision. So Jose, I think we're going to see some pretty big lifts in the second flight of the session.
Yes. We had to grab extra red plates to make sure that we had enough for the openers. That looks good for Isaiah there.
Plenty deep. And the judges agree. That's an easy opener. That's what an opener should look like. There is always a little bit of strategy to that too. I've always aimed to sink that opener just a little lower than I normally would for, say, my second or third. Gives the judges something to look for, so that they're not too critical of the depth on the second and the third attempt there. Nicholas, 165 kilos. Moved well. What did the judges say?
No lift.
No look. Looks like for depth. A little surprising. It was close, but I can see why they would call that.
Coming up is Aaron Underwood in the Raw Open 83 kilo division. Aaron's a local lifter here at Overload Gym.
So Jose, you've done a meet. Have you done a meet in Iron Soul while you were training at Iron Soul? I have never competed at my home gym, so I don't know what that experience is like. If that makes it easier or harder.
Yeah, likewise. No, I've never competed at my home gym. I imagine it's a little bit like home court advantage. More comfortable. It's your own equipment.
That buries that. And that's 3 whites, no doubt about it. Ryan Roth, master bench technician, but proficient in the squat and deadlift as well. Representing the Lobo powerlifting team at UNM.
Yeah, big shout out to the UNM Lobos powerlifting team. They always are lifting in the Powerlifting America meets. And if they're not lifting, they're helping out with the spotting crew, spotting and loading. They always do a great job.
And a great presence from them in both sessions today. Done a great job really growing it over the last few months. I believe this is their first full year as a club as well. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, looking for some big things from them over the next couple of years as they bring in more people. There's lots of very promising lifters.
They're all aspiring to compete at University Nationals, so we wish them good luck there too.
Look pretty good, what do the judges say? Yeah, depth. Looks like the side judges are being pretty strict on the depth today.
And of course, the depth is the hip crease has to be below the top of the knee joint.
And it's particularly strict in Powerlifting America. The various organizations, the language in the rule book is essentially identical, but it really comes down to how it's enforced. It's Charles Ortiz, Las Vegas' own Charles.
Charles with the pick.
Pretty explosive opener from Charles. What did the judges say? Yeah, 2-1 is a good lift.
2-1. Looks good.
But still a red light for depth. That's going to be a challenge, it looks like, in this second session, especially for the lifters that have already missed their opener. So nobody has opened too heavy. Everybody so far has been able to stand up with it, but the judges are going to be the biggest challenge for a lot of these lifters to overcome. And it makes it, that first squat attempt is always so difficult I would say personally, that's the hardest attempt of the entire day. You're feeling the nerves. You get that dump of adrenaline from going out there for the first time on the platform again, especially if it's at a different venue, if it's not your home gym. And if you miss that opener, you're already in a hole that you got to dig yourself out of to get that momentum back. Adam Lehigh, 205 kilo opener. Yeah, looks good, but again, what are the judges going to say on depth? Oh, 3. He got 3 reds. Even the head judge giving him a red for depth there. It's tough. Some strict judging today. Very strict. We saw some of that in the first session as well. Some pretty tough calls that maybe could have gone either way.
Yeah, it's tough missing the opener. Hopefully it doesn't set the tone, for the rest of the competition. But like you said, yeah, it's hard to dig yourself out of that hole.
It's so tough because you want to be able to get in there, just really shake those nerves off. And at least okay, you're in the meet. You can start to build from there, start to really push for those heavier weights. So it's not unusual to see people to where their second squat attempt is actually easier than their first because they've got the jitters, they're nervous, but they've got that pressure off of their shoulders if they're able to get that opener in. And Alex looked like he sank that pretty well. Judges say, yeah, wow, ooh, man.
It's 207.5.
207.5, and it still got red for depth on the side. Very strict. Very strict today.
And Miguel's jump in 15 kilos. Missed his first attempt.
Miguel's from down in Albuquerque. This is his second meet. It's a pretty quick turnaround from his first. We saw him for the first time at the State Fair Championships. It was his first full meet, and if I recall correctly, every single one of his attempts was pretty easy. I think, if anything, if I remember correctly, he missed his opening squat back at that first meet. Really just from nerves. I think it was almost too light. He flew up so fast on it, he had to re-step to catch his balance. Let's see how he does here. Second attempt, 160 kilos. Buries it. That looks good. Looked plenty deep. The judges agree 3 whites. Yeah, it's there. Rudy Gutierrez, 10-kilo jump for his second attempt, 160 kilos.
If you want to switch it to the camera angles. The bar is loaded for Rudy. Second attempt here.
Rudy had a pretty smooth opener. I was going to try to build from there. Very reasonable 10-kilo, 22-pound jump from that opener. Pretty easy walkout. Strong drive. Looked good. That looked like a pretty solid second. Looked low enough. What did the judges say? And it's good. Actually got a depth call from the front, which is surprising. That's pretty rare to see, that the side judges will both white light it, but the head judge will red light it on depth. It's always a tough call from the front, just because you can't. It's really hard to see the crease of the hip relative to the top of that knee joint. It's a tough call to make, but
I mean, it might be worth mentioning that the head front judge is a reigning world champion in the IPF, so he might have higher standards than us.
He might. All right, Nicholas coming back. He had a pretty strong opener. He stood up with it no problem, but he's going to have to sink it just a little bit lower to convince the judges. But he said he handled it pretty well. Flew up.
Explosive on the way up.
No problem with the weight. Judges say, yeah, no doubt about it. 3 whites. 3 whites. Isaiah Chavez making a pretty reasonable 10-kilo jump. 22 pounds up.
Bars loaded for Isaiah. 170 kilos.
Isaiah, not his first rodeo. He's done a few meets already. Knows his way around a powerlifting platform. Gets a big brace. Hits that bottom position pretty hard. That looked plenty deep, but did he jump the rack command? No, but it looks like
Depth from the center again.
a depth call. So the way that we're able, so of course we're not entirely sure without confirming with the head judges, but when you see those 3 white dots at the bottom of the screen come up after the attempt, if it is a red, what you'll see is one of 3 additional colors underneath that. You'll see either a red, a blue, or a yellow to indicate specifically what the infraction was. So the red's going to be most common in the squat, because that's going to signal that they did not get low enough. But there's other reasons for disqualification as well. You could also, again, jump the command. So for the squat here, you'll be able to hear in the background the head judge, Carlos Santoliquiro, give a audible squat command, which after they walk it out, show control of it, they will be given permission to begin the descent. Ryan, strong drive up with 200. And then you can even see Carlos's arm waving him in for the rack command as well. So Ryan comes back. Bold move to go up after missing his first attempt, but nails it. Also, Ryan likewise becoming a seasoned lifter. He's got quite a few meets under his belt. Strong 200 kilo second attempt. Aaron Underwood also going to go for 200 kilos. 440 freedom units on the bar there.
Bars loaded for Aaron Underwood, 200 kilos.
Aaron had a pretty easy opener there. I think he'll have a pretty good shot at a second one here. Good walkout. Good brace, strong drive. Oh yeah, really solid second. Strong, confident second there. Judges say, and that's 3 wides. Yeah, no doubt about it. Charles Ortiz jumping up to 205, 451 pounds there. Charles is a very explosive lifter. I don't think I've ever seen him really struggle or have to grind through a squat. A lot of speed that he puts behind his attempts, his squats and his deadlifts. You know, he's been dealing with the nagging IT band issue for a while, and it seems to have cleared up. Wasn't able to perform at his best during his last meet at the state games back in July. Had to pull back on his squat a little bit, but he looks like he's pretty close to 100% of him. Yeah, real strong, confident walkout. Strong drive. There you go. Yeah,
205 kilos.
Just a little bit of a sticking point there, but you know he hits that bottom position real hard, gets enough momentum to get through it, stands up with no problem. So Adam likewise stood up with this weight, but got called for depth. Again, the weight wasn't an issue. And just like Ryan Roth, he's decided, in spite of getting that first attempt turned down, he's going to make a 10-kilo jump. 215 kilograms here for Adam's second attack. I expect him to stand up with it. It's really just going to be a question of whether or not he can get the depth there, if he can get the judges to white light this attempt here.
Bars loaded here for Adam at 215 kilos.
Stands up with a strong second. And the judges say, oh, brutal. Oh, that's brutal. That's tough. That's tough. All right. He's got a big attempt coming up, do or die, so he can still post a total.
Now, Bill, would you retake that weight, or would you go up?
I would absolutely, in that situation, I would absolutely retake it. You know, at the local level, you know, it's really, I've been in a similar situation to that. I've not yet missed a squat opener before, but I have missed my second due to jumping the rack command. So I stood up with it, felt pretty confident, and went up on my third and just was patient with it and got that one in the books. But something like that, especially given that it's depth and not just a command, in that situation, I would definitely stay there and just sink it a little bit. Like, he's right there. He's very close. It's not egregiously high. Let's look at Alexander here. Real controlled descent, very strong drive back up. Judges say, yeah, that's 3 whites right there. Yeah, real strong from Alex. Great control, real great control. Good technique there, and a very stylish singlet as well. All right, back to the top of the order. So this is going to kick off third attempts for the first flight, and then right after this third round of attempts for the first flight, we roll right into the second flight. where we're going to have some real heavy hitters. We've got a few people opening at 500. We also have one attempt at well over 600 pounds. But you'll have to stay tuned for that. In the meantime, Miguel bounced back very strong. Great mental victory to bounce back from that missed opener. He's going to take 170 kilos there. A little shaky on the walkout. Plenty deep. Stands up with it real strong. That actually looked a little better on the way up than his second. Judges say, yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt.
And Miguel is in the equipped division, but it looks like he's lifting raw.
He is. So Miguel actually asked me about that beforehand. So even though... So powerlifting, you've really got two flavors of it. You've got the classic, or colloquially known as the raw division, which is where you get a belt, you get some knee sleeves, you get some wrist wraps, but nothing that really provides any kind of support or anything you're really going to get a big carryover out of. It's essentially like, I always, and Jose, you're probably tired of hearing me talk about this, but to compare it to stock car racing, where essentially, what you see on a NASCAR track, I was even watching a Craftsman Truck Series race last night. It's very similar to what the average person trains with in the gym that's not a competitive powerlifter. You might have some knee sleeves to just give you that sensation of support, keep some warmth there, maybe help take away the aches and pains, but nothing that's going to give you a big carryover, really help improve your squat through the use. Rudy gives it a strong drive, way to drive through it. Hit a little sticking point there. Looked plenty deep. And what do the judges say? Oh,
2-1, no
tough.
lift.
2-1, tough. Stood up with it, but a tough call there. Very tough. Isaiah, one of the few lifters in this flight that's gone 2 for 2 so far, trying to keep it a perfect meet. So Jose already mentioned equipped. So the equipped division then is where you are allowed supportive equipment in Powerlifting America under International Powerlifting Federation rules. That means you get instead of the singlet that they're wearing, what you have is it's called a squat shoe, but it's still essentially the same shape, form as a singlet, but it's a very thick piece of polyester. It provides some compression that you can get a little bit out of. Isaiah driving through it, but not quite. Gave it a good run.
400 pounds was just a bit too much for him today.
Yeah. And then likewise in the bench press with the equipped division as well. So that was Miguel. Does have a bench press shirt. He has what is called an Inzer Blast shirt, a very primitive version of a bench press shirt that can give you a little bit of an extra boost, a little bit of a carryover. But he asked me about it ahead of the meet. He wasn't feeling very confident about it, hadn't practiced much with it, hadn't really perfected the groove. And so I recommended, if you're going to squat and you're going to deadlift raw, I would just recommend bench pressing raw. So I believe we'll see him, even though he is strategically placed himself in the equipped division, I believe he's going to take all of his attempts raw. Ooh, real strong. Yeah, the weight hasn't been a problem for Nicholas today. 3 whites on that one. Way to bounce back from that opener. Really strong follow-ups from some tough calls on the openers here. Ryan Roth going up another 10 kilos. I would expect him to stand up with this. The second one looked a little challenging, but I think sufficiently difficult, appropriately difficult for a second attempt. Ryan, super flexible, able to really get those hands in. Super tight to his shoulders. And create a nice tight shelf to hold that bar. 210 kilos, 462 pounds on the bar.
It looks light coming out of the rack.
Strong drive. Nah, not quite. Not quite. Got pulled forward a little bit. Knees caved. Not quite enough. But
Great job from the spotters there, catching that.
Up next we got Charles. On deck is Adam.
yeah, huge thanks to the spotting crew here. You can see Patricio and Devin from the Las Vegas SAM team. Two great spotters. Almost always see them spotting and loading at New Mexico Powerlifting America meets. Really thankful to have them, very experienced. Always seen them catch whatever they need to. I can't recall ever seeing them misload a bar either. Very competent spotting crew. Charles, the strong drive. Kid's got enough to get through it. He does. He does. What do the judges say? Three whites. Great attempt from Charles. 462 pounds. All right. Do or die from Adam. And Jose, we talked about this after a second. He has wisely chosen to stay at that same weight for his third attempt there.
It's a good call.
That's a very smart call, reasonable call. Because the problem is, if you fail to make any of your 3 attempts and any of the 3 lifts, you're not able to post a total. You're not in the running for any overall award. So Adam has looked very strong, and they've been close. It hasn't been. It's not egregiously high. If he can just sink it a little bit more, he's got it. Yeah, again, a really strong lockout like the first 2. Just hits that bottom position hard. Yeah,
deeper.
That's plenty. That should be plenty deep. Judges say
2
2
whites.
to 1. It's still getting that red. Very strict judging on the squat depth there. But Adam's in the meat. That's got to be a huge relief for Adam there. Do or die attempt. That takes some serious mental fortitude to dig yourself out of a hole like that. So,
Yeah, and a little peace of mind, good momentum going into the bench press.
absolutely. Same weight for Aaron Underwood, 215 kilos. 473 pounds on the bar. In the last few attempts of the first flight, and then we roll right into openers for the squad for the second flight of session 2.
Okay, and as I mentioned, Aaron is local, but I've actually run into him at training at Iron Soul. I've run into him at Albuquerque Barbell. You know, as powerlifters, we just get around gyms.
Yeah, always good. Let's see what Aaron does here first. Good brace, plenty deep. Drives right through it. Holds his technique together real well. That's got to be plenty deep for the judges.
They like
no
it.
doubt. 3 whites. 3 whites. Unanimous decision. You know, Jose, we talked about competing at the home gym earlier. And a good way, because, you know, it's pretty rare that you're going to be actually competing at the gym that you train at. So it is good practice to get around to other gyms just to practice being in a different place, different environment, you know, where you're going to set your focal point for the squat, just to maybe be on different equipment, again, just to get the feel of being somewhere foreign.
Yeah.
Makes a big difference in practice and getting ready for these meets. This is going to be the final attempt of the first flight of session 2. Alex demonstrated great control. He makes a real big jump from his second. Great control. Stands up with it, but what are the judges going to say? They've been pretty strict. The strength is there, but that's so tough. Very impressive command of the weight, but a tough call. 2-1, no lift.
And this is how we ended up in the first flight. Looks like everyone's still in it.
On deck is Abraham and Park.
Yeah, close call for Adam there, but he was able to dig deep and get that third attempt. So everyone so far is in the meet. Likewise, we didn't have any bomb outs in that first session as well, though we do had some close calls, especially, man, we had a really close one on the deadlift, didn't we?
Yeah.
All right, Jose Chacon representing the Lobo barbell team of the University of New Mexico. Again, typically a fixture of the platform as a spotter and a loader, but today he gets to compete. He's opening a 152.5, big brace. Oh, plenty deep. Yeah, a little sticking point on the way up, but not terribly difficult. And the judges say, yeah, 3 whites.
Great opener.
Up next we have Abraham. On deck is Tom Davis.
Abe Park here, 160 kilos. And I actually saw Abe hit this weight just a few days ago.
And it looked very easy. He really buried it just to make sure of his depth. You know, Abe in his last meet at the New Mexico State Games back in July, he missed his opening squat on depth, and it was never an issue of strength. It was just getting that last little inch to make sure it's convincingly deep. And man, did he really sink this in training the other day. No doubt about the depth or the strength there. So I would expect to see this buried plenty deep and for him to stand up with it, no problem. So takes a sec to just get his feet set. Yeah, buries it. Flies a bar, almost popping off of his shoulders there. That's got to be 3 legs. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. All right. Tom Davis. UNM Law School's own Tom Davis. This is his first meet, first competition. And this is a pretty strong opener for his first meet. 180 kilos, just a hair, a biscuit, under 400 pounds right there.
Probably has the highest rack height.
That's a pretty tall rack. Yeah, he's a pretty tall guy. Not quite as high as our friend Skip Sorensen, that bar is nearly to the ceiling when they've got to set it for a squat. Big old Scandinavian dude. Let's see Tom's opener here. That looks plenty deep. And, it looks like he jumped the command. Yeah, some of those first meet jitters. Yeah. So, Jose, we talked about in the prior flight, do you go up, do you stay there? I would recommend in that situation, given that it is his first meet, and you got some of those jitters, those nerves to work through, I would just take that again. And the depth looked like it was no problem. Just step forward ever so slightly before that rack command. Francisco, another seasoned New Mexico lifter. I've seen him plenty of times on the platform here. 207 kilograms. 457 pounds.
I do follow Cisco on Instagram and following along with his training videos. Looks like a lot of strength gains have been made.
Yeah, he's been looking really strong. Real strong progress from him.
Does have his wrist wrap undone on the left side, it looks like.
Yeah, won't get called for that, but it is a little odd. What are the judges saying? Yeah, no doubt about it. And
Up next we have Dominic. On deck, Ian Bennett.
We have Dominic coming up next. another Lobo powerlifter, opening up at 215 kilos. He's in the 120 raw junior division.
Likewise, expect this to be a pretty easy opener from Dominic. Good walkout. That comes up pretty easy. What do the judges say? It is a no. Yeah, the really tough calls on depth today. It's been really, really tough. You would go back earlier. It's a strategy that Abe is looking to employ, and that is really burying that opening squat so then the judges are not too critical of it going into your second and your third attempt. You know, if that opener is borderline on depth, they're going to be looking very, very closely at it on your second and your third. So, you know, if you set a good precedent with that opener, if you've really buried it, they're not going to, typically they're not going to be quite as strict on your second or your third there. And then that gives you a little bit of room to maybe cut it just a little bit higher, be able to move a little bit more weight there. David Bennett, another seasoned lifter in here. Opening at 235. Strong opener. Mm-hmm. What do the judges say? Yeah, that's 3 whites there. Plenty deep. Jacob Phillips.
This is Jacob's first meet, I think.
Jacob's first meet competing, but he has helped us out plenty of times as a spotter and loader. Great spotter, always feel safe when he's on the platform behind me. But this is his first actual meet. You know, he was dealing with a pretty serious injury. I believe he broke his ankle, had to have it surgically repaired earlier in the year, and he's been able to bounce back from it. So his very first official squat attempt here, and I would expect it to be a strong, successful opener. Let's see what he's got. It takes him a second to get set. Buries it plenty low, stands up with it easy. Judges say it's a good lift. It's a good lift.
Lights.
All right, we got 2 more openers to get through. Likewise, it's Joshua Melton's first meet. Opening at 255 kilograms. Well, 562 pounds on the bar right there. So we're well over a quarter ton on the bar right here. Getting into some pretty serious weights. Josh is the penultimate opener here. And then we've got a massive opening squat coming up after Josh. Josh taking a pretty narrow stance there. Sinks it plenty deep. Stands up with it. I would expect to see 3 white lights there. And sure enough, 3 whites. All right. Ben Lujan, collegiate squat record holder in the 93s. Very, very strong squatter. Great lifter across the board. He's strong in all 3, and he's really picked his deadlift up recently to help boost his total. This is his first meet in Powerlifting America. He has competed elsewhere and put up some massive numbers. He squatted 733 at the Ghost Clash in Miami back in April with a little room to spare. Ben primarily looking just to post a total so he can get to nationals at the beginning of March 2026. So he's not in peak form today, and he did have to make a little bit of a difficult cut, but 305 kilos, it's a very easy weight for Ben. I've seen Ben do this for reps before. Ben and I used to train together at Zia Strength Systems in Albuquerque, one of the finest gyms around. Yeah, real strong walkout, strong drive. I would expect 3 whites. What do the judges say? No lift.
Like
No
depth.
lift on depth. Interesting.
All right,
Interesting.
on deck is Abraham.
Well, tough call there. I would say just, again, Ben's moved some much heavier weights than that in the past. But again, he just is looking to post a total, so hopefully he stays at that same weight. Sinks a little bit lower there. All right, kicking off second attempts here. Jose Chacon, more commonly known as Tomas, with a 10-kilo increase here. Just going off of how his first attempt looked, I would expect this to come up with plenty of depth as well. A real big breath in, great control on the descent. Oh, not quite there. Let's see if he comes back for it on his second. At the very least, he got his opener. He's in the meet. Abe Park making a very reasonable 10-kilo jump, 22 pounds up from his opener. And likewise, he really buried that first one convincingly deep. So we'll see if he takes it this low or if he decides to maybe cut it a little bit. He's got plenty of room on his squat depth there to give up a couple of inches and make it a little easier to stand up. But likewise, one of the founding members of the Lobo Barbell team and also a regular spotter and loader when he's not competing on the platform. And Abe's got about 50 gym memberships around town, so there's a good chance, regardless of where you train, you'll probably see him at some point. So he takes a second to get his legs set, buries it again. Oh, stands up real strong. Look about the same as his opener. What do the judges say?
Looks great.
Yeah, 3 whites, no doubt about it. All right, Tom has boldly decided to go up 7.5 kilos from his opener. Now, I have no doubt he's going to stand up with it. That first attempt looked pretty easy. The question is whether or not he's going to be able to get that bar, get those hips low enough to convince the judges that it's a good lift. Again, Jose, they've been very strict today. Very strict.
You know, there's standards, obviously. This is a competition, and just have to adhere to that. And everyone sees it a little bit differently. But yeah, we do appreciate the refs and their watchful eyes. Now, was it his first squat? That was command.
Oh, you're correct. No,
Yeah.
it was not, but the command. He has great memory, Jose. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, no question on the depth. I would say likewise, deep enough. Holds it. Easy correction on the command there. And the judges say, yeah, that's a good lift. It's a good lift. Still gets a red from one of the side judges there for depth. But Tom is in the meet. That's his first successful squat attempt in a sanctioned powerlifting meet. So again, not just that jump the command, miss that opener, but in your very first meet, that's a big one to bounce back from. So a huge mental victory for Tom Davis there. We throw it back to Francisco. Cisco making a pretty big jump there. Opener moved real strong, but I have seen him move this in training. So I'd expect him to bury those hips low enough and to stand up with it. Yeah, looks low enough. Stands up with. That's a pretty strong second attempt. What did the judges say?
Ooh, 2-1.
2-1. Brutal call from the head judge on depth there. Very difficult. It will be interesting to see if he decides to go up on his third attempt. 'Cause again, that did not look terribly challenging. But it's so hard, especially when you're trying to build your total. If you're only able to get just one successful attempt in an individual lift, it's just so hard to bounce back as far as the overall total goes. Dominic likewise stood up with this no problem, but wasn't quite low enough to convince the judges. So he, like so many before him in this session, decided to go up. So he is right at 501 pounds on the bar. Gets his hips down there. Stands tall and stands up with it. What did the judges say? It's a good lift. He's in the meat. He's in the meat. Very good. In the meat with another squat attempt there. David Bennett with a very solid opening attempt, jumping up to 250, 551 pounds on the bar.
Now, is that 15 kilos? Is that kind of what you would have expected to see for his next one?
I would think so. I would think so. You know, I don't know what David's personal record is, so I don't really know what to anchor that to. But I would say that that's a pretty reasonable jump. So 15 kilos, 33-pound jump.
Yeah, we do see bigger jumps in the squat and deadlift. Bench press, not so much.
Not so much, you know, but it also depends on the strategy. You know, for the longest time, in the first few years of competing, I always took a very conservative approach to my first and my second. David gets it plenty deep, stands up with it, but what do the judges say on that? Yeah, 2-1. It's still a good lift. It's a good lift. Jacob buttoned up 252.5 for his second attempt there. Jacob, very strong opener here. Going to his second here in his first powerlifting meet. Another one of the Lobo powerlifting team members here. Yeah, great presence from the Lobo powerlifting team in this meet here. You know, going back to that attempt selection, so those first few meets, the way I attempted, or set my attempts, rather, was I always set my third attempt as 100% of what I wanted. Oh, yeah, plenty deep. Stands up with it real strong, judges say. Yeah, 3 wides, no doubt about it. Josh Melton making a pretty reasonable 10-kilo jump, 22 pounds up from his opening attempt there. So I would always plan on the third attempt being 100% of what I wanted to hit. That would be the goal. Second attempt, I would go 92.5% of whatever my planned third attempt would be. The opener would then be 85%. So very, very conservative. So those meets that I went into, especially when I was still pretty green, and also, given the state of powerlifting and how few meets there were in the Midwest at the time, I would usually have to go somewhere like Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, Wisconsin. There just wasn't a lot of options in Illinois at the time when I was there about 10 years ago. And so I wanted to make sure that given the travel, given all the other circumstances, I'd be able to get those numbers in. Real strong attempt from Josh, a real narrow stance there too. Just all quad drive standing up with it, but they're definitely strong enough. Ben making a small jump there, I think a very reasonable selection from him. Ben, again, a really strong lifter, one of the best squatters in his weight class. Again, going a little conservative because he's not peaked. He's not in his best condition. He's really just doing this to get in a meet, be able to post a total in Powerlifting America for the first time so he can get to Nationals in March. Like we mentioned, Ben had a little bit of a tough weight cut. He just barely got under the 205-pound, 93-kilo threshold to get into his desired weight class. But Ben, very seasoned, very experienced, and a very smart lifter with his attempts too. So I would expect this. He'll bury it a little bit lower.
It looked lower.
Looked pretty good. What did the judges say there? That's a good lift. That's a good lift. There you go. Side judges especially confirmed that is plenty low. Coming up to the third attempts for the second flight here. All right, Jose Chacon, more commonly known as Tomas, kicking off the final round of squat attempts of the day here. Had some trouble standing up on this one. I think if he's just a little bit more aggressive, gets a little bit more speed coming out of the bottom, he'll be able to stand up with it, work through that sticking point. You know, just coming out of the rack and walking it out, didn't look like the weight was bothering him too much, handled it well. And his depth has also been on point. That does not seem an issue. Let's see what he can do here on his third. Come back for it. Buries it. Oh, not quite, not quite. He did go after it a little bit more aggressive in his second, but just not enough gas in the tank today. But he's in the meet. He got his opener. We'll see him again in the bench press. Abe Park having a really solid meet here. I believe this will be a PR squat for Abe, if I'm not mistaken. Jose, can you confirm? Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Again, very reasonable jump. His second looked just as fast as his opener. Very fast, very deep. He's gotten 3 wipes on both of his attempts so far. So you got 180 pounds. That is just a little bit under 180 kilos rather. So just a hair under 400 pounds, 396 pounds on the bar for Abe. Again, likewise, it really looked like the hardest part for him has been the walkout and just getting his legs steady. Yeah, see him just takes a second to settle his feet. Gets a big brace, buries it. Good drive from Abe with a little showmanship. And the judges say, oh,
2-1.
No. Brutal. Brutal. That's all right. The strength is definitely there for Abe.
Tom, 195 kilos. Mom's making noise.
All right, Tom here with a 7.5 kilo jump.
I think a pretty reasonable jump as well. You know, second looked a little challenging, but yeah, not too much of a struggle. I'd expect him to have to work a little bit harder on this one, but still stand up with it. Cut it pretty close to the squat. Oh, no, and just see that upper back caving. Got him pulled forward. A great catch by the spotters there. Very good. Great job keeping Tom safe there. But Tom's in the meet. A good rebound from a missed opener, but he's in the meet. We'll see him again at the bench press. Cisco. I think a pretty reasonable call from Cisco as well. You know, missed his second just on depth. The strength is definitely there. He's got plenty of strength in reserve. So just making that 2.5 kilo jump, 5.5 pounds up from his second attempt. And again, a weight that I've seen him move in training. So I think he should be able to confidently sink this just a little bit lower than he did on his second, just low enough to convince the judges. And at the very least, he did get his opener. So again, he's in the meet. Let's see what he can do here on his third.
That's it.
Good drive. What do the judges say?
They liked it.
That's a good lift. Way to bounce back for Francisco, making a little bit of a jump and sinking it a little bit lower.
10-kilo jump for Dom on his third attempt here, 237 and a half.
237.5 kilos.
Getting very reasonable. Just missed his opener on depth and bounced right back from it. Stood up pretty strong on a second there. Again, now we're back over the quarter-ton barrier. So Dom got a good lift at 501 pounds, 227 and a half kilos. Now he's got 235 and a half kilos. Gets that star command. Gets his hips down there. And just not quite there. What you could kind of see was he maintained his torso position, but the hips went back a little bit and his knees shot back, which puts the weight bar really out ahead of his center of balance there. So it's very subtle, but at a heavy attempt like that, those tiny little losses of position are the difference between standing up with that weight and not quite getting it, just like you saw with Dominic there. Getting into the last few attempts here, 257 and a half kilos. See our good friend Dennis Aragon handling David Bennett there. $257.5 kilos. David trying to stay perfect in the meet so far. Again, very seasoned lifter. Knows how to pick his attempts. Knows where he needs to get his hips in order to convince those judges. See what he does here. Now look 20 deep, real strong third, even with a little bit of strength in reserve. But what did the judges say? 3 whites, yeah. It's 3 whites on all 3 of his attempts, so a perfect meet so far. Jacob Phillips, likewise, looking to stay perfect here in his first meet. He's looked real strong so far. Again, coming back from a pretty serious ankle injury earlier in the year.
Yeah, it's definitely an incredible recovery, and just growing the strength after that. I mean, that's awesome.
Real serious injuries like that, it's hard enough to push for big weights if you're not coming back from an injury, if it's just a PR, but if you're coming back from something like that, serious joint problem or a bone break, that takes a lot of mental fortitude. So here he is with his 30s. Looked real strong on his first 2. No issues with the depth. Let's see what he can do here. Buries it. Drives through it. Very strong. What did the judges say? Good lift. 3 white. That's some great lifting. Great performance so far from Jacob in his first meet. Very strong. Even though it's his first meet, he's definitely not new to powerlifting, so he knows what to expect. He knows what the judges are looking for. He knows how to make just the right attempt selection. I would say, Jose, would you say that's a perfect third squat attempt there?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, anything heavier, and I don't think we would have gotten all white lights on that, but it was great attempt selection. 2.5 kilos more. I don't think he would have stood up with it. So a great attempt selection from him. Joshua Melton now looking to push just a hair under 600 pounds here. So we got 595 pounds on the bar with that real narrow stance, just using those tree trunk legs of his to drive that weight up there. And also his first, some really strong squatting from the novice lifters here. And a strong second. And again, not too big of a jump, only a 5-kilo jump, 11 more pounds. Pretty strong, confident walkout. Sinks it down there. Not quite. Little too heavy.
Yeah, you see the knees cave a little bit, couldn't quite finish it. Ben just taking a little jump here. He's going to 320 kilos to make it 705 pounds. So a weight that Ben has done many times in training, that I have personally seen him done many times in training and more. Again, we mentioned he competed at the Ghost Clash in Miami, an invitational meet. He was invited to go compete with some of the best lifters in the world across all organizations back in April and performed exceptionally well. Squatted 733 pounds there. And again, not in his peak form. He's not looking to hit any PRs today, just looking to grease the groove, get some more meet experience, as this is his first competition in Powerlifting America. He's done plenty of meets, especially at the national level in USA Powerlifting, but now he's joined us here. A real strong walkout. Weight really hasn't been an issue. Let's see if he can get those hips down there. Buries it down there. Strong drive from Ben. Let's see what the judges say. That's a good lift. 7:05. No doubt about it from Ben. And I know, too, Ben was battling some back issues towards the beginning of the year there. Ben and I were on about the same schedule through the first half of the year. I competed at the Duke City Showdown here at the end of March, so I could get a total going to nationals for Powerlifting America. And then Ben competed at his Ghost Clash meet was the weekend after. And then Ben was going to go compete at USA Powerlifting Raw Nationals, which was the same weekend as Powerlifting America Equip Nationals. So we were at about the same trajectory, same kind of programming schedule. And both him and I, we rolled right into heavy training again after those first meets of the year. And it beat us up pretty good. I know I was having not a serious, it wasn't really an injury, but just some back tightness. And Ben was experiencing the same thing just because didn't really have any downtime between those meets. So even though Ben was planning on doing nationals back in the middle of summer, he ended up pulling out of it just because he wasn't in top form and squat really wasn't feeling good. So even though he hasn't competed since the beginning of April, getting very seasoned, knows what he's doing, and just getting a little bit more meet experience here. Really excited to see what he's going to do in the bench. His bench has been looking very strong. I would expect to see something in the mid-400s from him. I expect to see him deadlift over 700 pounds, post a very strong total here. Again, even though he's not in peak form. So with that said, really solid lifting, some dramatic lifts so far, Jose.
Yeah,
what do you make of some of those that flight one squatting especially?
Yeah. I mean, definitely, it looks like the attempt selection's been good. Fortunately, everyone's in the meet. Everyone's got a squat in. Super excited to see what we're going to get here on the bench, and obviously the deadlift. See everything total out here, but we are in between the lifts here, so I think we might take a little break. And when we come back, we'll be back with bench press. All right, welcome back. We are about a minute away from the first attempts of bench here at the Overload Classic 4 in Santa Fe, New Mexico Overload Gym. All right, we've got the bench in the combo rack. We've got the safety arms attached. Looks like we're ready to start benching here. If you're just joining us, I'm Jose Munoz. Joining me is Bill Coyne here at Overload Gym in Santa Fe, New Mexico.
So when powerlifting was first codified in the late 1960s, the bench press was actually the first lift of the meet. So the order actually went bench press, squat, and then deadlift. And then they figured out pretty quickly that a max effort deadlift immediately after a max effort squat does not feel very good, does not go very well. So they decided to put the push in between the two. And really the way that they decided on the three lifts for powerlifting is, initially they were considered odd lifts because the only real official strength sport for the majority of the 20th century was Olympic weightlifting. Mm-hmm. And so that is right now comprised of the snatch and the clean and jerk. So while you still have to be very strong, it is really only, you have to be very powerful, very explosive, very flexible, extremely athletic to excel at weightlifting. But prior to 1972, there was a third lift in Olympic weightlifting, which was the clean and press. And the way that the three lifts worked was the snatch, which is just one move of getting the bar from the floor, really throwing it over your head, catching it, standing up with it. That was a test of speed and athleticism. You had the clean and press, so cleaning the bar, picking it up from the ground, heaving it to your shoulders, and then in a strict fashion, so keeping the legs and the hips locked, pressing that bar with your arms overhead. That was seen as a test of just brute strength. And then the clean and jerk was kind of a middle ground between the two. And so it was those three events which really made for an interesting array of different lifters, because you had some that were very fast, very powerful, very athletic, that excelled in the snatch, could do pretty well in the clean and jerk, but not so much in the clean and press. And then you had lifters on the other end of the spectrum, like the great lifter Ken Patera, if you're a fan of 1970s WWF wrestling. Before his wrestling days, he was a very high-level Olympic weightlifter, one of the few men to ever clean and strict press over 500 pounds.
Wow.
So Ken, not an especially flexible, or you would say, not to say he wasn't athletic, but not the fastest in the mobile guy. Oh, it looks like Miguel jumped the command there. Also, his head came up there.
A couple of infractions.
Just a few there. We're going to see, I would assume that was a no lift, but we see the head judge and exceptionally experienced both judge and official Morris Shuttleworth in the front, confirming that it is a no lift. But you were Jose. Miguel will come back for that. Jose Munoz would never make such an infraction. Not at all. They're very, very well versed in the rules there. Rudy Gutierrez are opening at 100 kilos, so that's an even 220 pounds. But so going back to kinds of athletes, so Ken Patera just a very brute, strong kind of guy. So not super quick, not super agile, so not great in the snatch, but so incredibly strong in the clean and press, and that carries over to the clean and jerk that he could balance that out with guys who were exceptional in the snatch. But then, for a number of reasons, it's a good lift for Rudy. Nice, easy opener. The International Weightlifting Federation decided in 1972 to drop the clean and press from the competition program. So it really eliminated an entire kind of athlete from being able to compete at a high level in that sport. So no longer did you have a place for just those real big, brute, strong kind of guys anymore. It became much more a sport for the more powerful, the more athletic, very mobile, and very strong, but just a different breed of athlete. And so you didn't really have a place for them to go until powerlifting came around. So powerlifting, initially, they called them the odd lifts because they were just not contested lifts, but the squat has been a staple of training programs for as long as really strength training has been around. Bench press is a pretty simple one, but again, the bench press was not really even a commonly seen exercise until the 60s, until bodybuilding became a bigger thing, when it became more desirable to develop the pecs and the triceps.
Opener moved nicely for Isaiah.
Yeah, looks like an easy one for Isaiah. 105 kilos, 231 pounds. He did get a red. Looks like he got a yellow card. I think it looked like that bar might have dipped just a little up and down and up motion right at the start. The head judge didn't give it to him. It came from the side, but still he's in the mean successful one. Adam, who had a really tough go in the squat, coming back into the bench press. 115 kilo opener.
Bars loaded for Adam. 115 kilos.
So the bench press, because Olympic weightlifting had the clean and standing press, the bench press was a pretty rarely seen exercise because the lifters just didn't seem to get a carryover from bench pressing into their overhead pressing, so there really wasn't a point to it because it was not yet a competitive lift. It also required, of course, a specialty piece of equipment, that is, a bench, in order to perform it. And it was a rarely seen thing. Just again, Olympic weightlifting is an overhead sport. Adam with a very easy opener. Got 3 whites there. Rebounds real strong from a tough go of the squats. Nicholas bumping up in the past opener 2.5 kilos, 117.5 kilos on the bar. Then again, as bodybuilding became more popular, people sought to develop the chest a little bit more, the anterior portion of the shoulder muscles. Bench press became more common, and then right as bodybuilding was coming into its golden era is when the overhead press was dropped from the Olympics, and then also concurrent with that was the codification of powerlifting to include the bench press. And it looks like Nicholas jumped his start command. Pressed it back up pretty easily, but that's going to be a no lift. Just didn't wait for that start. So we'll see what he does on his second attempt. Jose, what would you think? Would you, in that situation, would you make a little bit of a jump, or would you just come back for it?
Yeah, I would make a jump for sure. It wasn't a strength issue. It is with everything that's going on, all the noise in the gym. Sometimes it might be hard to, or you just don't remember to wait for that start command. So, in this case, I would say, yeah, go ahead and make the jump up.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw that same situation with Tom Davis's opening squat attempt. Again, no issue with the weight and no issue with the depth as well. He just moved his feet, stepped forward into the rack just before he got the rack command. Went up on his second, nailed it. Now here's Charles Ortiz, 127.5 kilos. Yeah, real strong, fast opener from Charles there. I talked to him during the break there, confirmed that he did come away with a PR squat. So a strong performance. Again, a good comeback from him because he was dealing for a number of months with a nagging thigh injury. The IT band, the outside of the thigh there was just really lighting up and he inflamed, couldn't get it to go away. So it looks like he's worked through that and he's back to making progress again.
Mm-hmm. And Charles does have a few of the New Mexico State records. Don't recall if squat is one of them, but I do believe that he has the bench state record.
Very strong in all three lifts. Very strong in all three disciplines. Which is not terribly common to see, given how people are built, their proportions. Typically everyone has one of the lifts that they excel at more than the other. It takes a lot of work to be able to have a good balance between the three. But it behooves you to really work on that because, again, at the end of the day, even though it's great to really push the numbers, say, in one of the lifts, the rankings, the winners are determined by the total. So Ryan Roth, we had mentioned, very proficient in the bench press. He's very flexible, able to get a really big arch. He's really wide grip. And able to really shorten up that range of motion on the bench press. So much so, it has actually gotten him in a little bit of trouble in the past. So there is a thing called bench press depth, which is that the elbows have got to be in line with the shoulder joint when that bar is in contact with the chest. So that is a relatively recent rule change. Before, the range of motion did not matter. And so what you would see is people that were, especially in the lighter weight classes, that were especially flexible and had a very short wingspan. They were able to take that maximum legal grip, take a really, really huge arch in the back. And you would see occasionally some people, the bar would only have to move a few inches between lockout and their chest. Elbows barely had to move at all. That's an easy opener from Alex. And we're back to the top of the order with Miguel. Miguel, again, the strength is definitely there. Just a little jumpy, likewise with his first squat attempt as well.
Speaking of the elbow depth rule, I know it's caused some controversy in the past. It's a new rule, and it's one of those things where it is open for interpretation, I guess. Where is the joint and the elbow relative to it? Where's the top of the joint, etc. Difficult to look out for, difficult to call. I guess you have to be really, really dialed in to where that depth is.
Yeah, very much so. And as far as I'm aware, it is still a rule unique to the International Powerlifting Federation and thus Powerlifting America. So Miguel got his command there, but you saw that head pop right off the bench. So as we just mentioned, that the bench depth is a rule which is unique to the IPF, to Powerlifting America. Likewise, a rule that is unique to the IPF and Powerlifting America is the head must stay in contact with the bench during the entire lift. So other powerlifting organizations, you are allowed to bring that head up off of the bench. That is permissible. Here, it must stay down through the full lift. So,
yeah, and you saw Miguel consulting with the judges there. They were likely explaining to him that his head has to stay in contact, and that's something that all lifters are entitled to. If you get a red light or if you get any kind of infraction for your lift, the judges, you can ask the judges for an explanation as to why.
Absolutely. Easy second attempt from Rudy.
It looked good.
Yeah, no doubt about it. He did get a red light. Interesting. Wonder what the red light was for. It's hard to say from this perspective. One of the other challenges, and this is a universal rule in powerlifting, is that the butt has to stay in contact with the bench as well. So again, what you'll see with some of these lifters throughout the day is that they might use their legs or a little bit of thrust from the hips to help get that bar going off of their chest, which is okay as long as a little bit of meat stays in contact with the bench there. If there's any little bit of daylight underneath the butt, that is a no lift. So I would assume maybe one of the side judges thought they saw a little bit of air underneath him there. Going to Isaiah, his second attempt, 110 kilos, 242 pounds. Real strong off the chest. Little worked when the triceps had to take over, but that looks like a good lift. And no, it is not a good lift. Not a good lift. Interesting there. Jose, could you tell what that call was?
I might have seen a little softness in the elbows.
Agree there. Was there perhaps just a touch of bar dip as well? I couldn't tell. But Isaiah's got another attempt. He did get it up, looked pretty strong, so I would assume that I would stay at that weight if I were Isaiah. Nicholas coming back. Likewise, I believe, Jose, you seem to have a much better memory than I today, but did Nicholas jump one of his attempts? Am I remembering correct? Or not attempts, but commands, rather?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
Now, Jose, the older I get, the more all those hits to the head I took playing football really start to catch up with me.
I'm older than you, and I used to box. So
There you go. You must have better genes. And so he waited for all his commands there.
Looked good. Yep.
And judges agree. So he's in the meat. There we go. He's in the meat. Adam had a real strong opener at 115, bumping it up 7.5 kilos to 122.5 pounds. And Adam had a really tough day in the squats, but really pulled through, dug deep, a mental, a spiritual victory to really come back on a do-or-die third attempt to stay in the meat. Again, the weight stood up with the weight. It wasn't really so much an issue of weight selection, but he was real close. Had some tough calls on his first two for depth in the squat, but he was able to sink it low enough on his third to convince the judges. So he's in the meat. See if he can get that momentum back and build a good total through the bench and the deadlift. Oh, no, just a little too heavy. And unfortunately, Jose, that is one of the challenges. We talk about making smart attempt selections. One of the challenges is that you cannot take weight off of the bar. So say in that example there where Adam jumped up 7.5 kilos and that bar just didn't really even budge off of his chest, he has to take no less than that same weight.
Yeah, that's why you have to be very diligent. Obviously, your warm-ups are going to be crucial. On meet day, just to gauge that. Obviously, have a game plan going into it. Have kind of what you think you want to hit for your first, second, and third attempts. But really feel it out on the warm-up the day of, and just make sure that you're on track to hit all those goals.
Yeah, as in so many other pursuits, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Yeah, Charles, as we mentioned earlier, very explosive lifter, real strong.
Looks strong to me.
And again, very strong, very reasonable 5 kilo increase from his opener. So had to push a little bit more than his first attempt, but gives him plenty of strength and reserve to go hit a big number on his third. Hopefully he's going for a PR there. Aaron also had very easy opener there. Aaron, as Jose mentioned earlier, we see him around at different gyms. So again, a very good strategy just to get used to lifting in different environments. And you don't necessarily have to be a gym nomad, but good to be in those different environments every once in a while, especially as a competitive lifter. That's a good start command. Yeah, a little sticking point, but not too bad. Pushes through pretty well. Again, a very reasonable second attempt there for Aaron. A 10-kilo jump from his opener. Let's see what he goes to on his third.
Yeah, I don't know that I would expect another 10-kilo jump, but certainly go up.
I would agree. That's 22 pounds from there. And Jose, as you mentioned, the squat as well. We tend to see these smaller jumps in the bench press, appropriately so, just given that the weights that they're handling are not going to be as heavy. And it seems also that people hit that ceiling quicker than they do in the other lifts. Ryan Roth, again, very proficient bench presser here. I believe Ryan is the state record holder in the junior 93 category. Again, he gets a real big arch. Looked fine as far as the elbow position goes relative to the shoulders. What do the judges say? Yeah, it's a good lift. Yeah. Does give it a pretty good leg and hip drive. I'm wondering, again, if that red light was maybe from a side judge thinking they saw a little bit of air underneath it. But nonetheless, a good lift from Ryan Roth.
We got Alexander here with 160 kilos on his second attempt.
Really strong. He is very intentional with his squat technique. Real great command. Likewise with the bench. Real controlled descent. Gives it just a little pop. Get it going off of the shoulders. Follows, or chest rather. Follows through the top. Yeah, 3 wide. No doubt about it. All right, so Miguel in a little bit of a do or die situation here. Again, the weight hasn't been an issue. He struggled a little bit getting it up, but it has just simply been a technique issue for Miguel. So if he's able to just keep his head down on this attempt, he should be able to stay in the meet, post a total. Otherwise, we will still see him for the deadlift, but he will not be in the running for any overall awards. So here we go, kicking off third attempts for the first flight. Miguel, it's his second meet. Pretty quick turnaround. His first powerlifting competition ever was the State Fair Championships just a little over a month and a half ago in September. Well, let's see. It's not pretty, but what do the judges say? Yeah, I think just uneven extension there. Might have, maybe his butt came off the bench a little bit. Hard to see from this angle. That's real tough. That's real tough. You know, Jose, again, going back to your point of the benefit of going to different gyms, one of the things there is that not just being in the different environments, but training with other lifters as well, other experienced lifters that can help point little things out to you like that. So, for example, I believe Miguel trains by himself or with his brother, and if you're with an experienced lifter, they're going to be able to point out, hey, you need to practice keeping that head down right. Might even be if it's enough of a habit, you do some drills to work through it. Isaiah, yeah, not quite. And you can see, as we mentioned, just those smaller jumps in the bench press seem to make a bigger difference here. We got up that 110 kilos, but got turned down on the technicality. Only goes up 2.5 kilos, so 5.5 pounds, and it's just too much for him, We even saw that, we talked about that. Even with Jacob in the squat, even how much of a difference a few pounds could make. I think if Jacob had attempted just 2.5 kilos more, I don't know if he would have been able to grind through it. I think that was a really strong, with the perfect third attempt selection there.
Exactly. And yeah, Bill, to your point about training with experienced lifters and getting a little bit of pointers or just a little bit of help. And a lot of people talk about getting unsolicited advice in the gym and how a lot of times it's not welcomed. Within the powerlifting community, we do it to help each other, to make each other better, to help each other grow. Because we're all in a really big community here, and we want to see each other succeed. Anyone from our gym, from anyone else's gym, anyone here on the platform, we have this bond, and that's through this sport, and we really want to see each other succeed. So, that's what we do in the gym. We help each other out. We help each other get better.
Rudy just missed his third attempt at 115 kilos, just a little bit too much. Again, that was a pretty big jump, made that 7.5 kilo jump from his opener to his second attempt, which was not the easiest, and then made that another 7.5 kilo jump that was just a little bit too much for him. Nicholas likewise missed his opener on a technicality, just jumped to command. So wisely just made a 2.5 kilo jump for a second, but then goes 10 kilos up for his third. And again, the second did not look too difficult. Yeah, there you go. Another easy one. What are the judges? Yeah, 3 whites, 3 right. A great attempt there. Nice and easy. Charles looking to stay perfect on the day. Was 3 for 3 in the squats, finishing with a personal record. And here he is looking to take his bench press over 300 pounds here, 137.5 kilos.
Mm-hmm. Did I hear them call that it's a state record?
This is a state record attempt. State record attempt for the junior 74 kilo class.
It's moving.
Yeah, great speed, great drive. What do the judges say? 2 to 1. So, again, there might have been something we didn't see in terms of foot movement or his butt coming off the bench. That's another rule we haven't mentioned, is that the feet must remain flat in contact with the ground through the full lift. Again, that is a rule which is unique to Powerlifting America and the IPF. The feet have to stay flat. Almost every other organization, you can be up on your toes if you want to, but here they've got to stay flat. So you could count that as a moral victory for Charles. He did get, I believe, that would be his first 300-plus pound bench press. So we know the strength is there. All he's got to do is clean it up. So I think we'll see that and some bigger numbers from him in the bench press in the next meet. Aaron Underwood. Again, Jose, I think you called it rightly that we would not see another 10-kilo jump. So instead we see 5 kilos. And he looked like he had some good momentum off the chest, but the triceps just weren't there.
Just a bit too much.
Just a little bit too much. Ryan Roth. Again, very proficient bench press. 150 kilos, 330 pounds. His second attempt wasn't easy, but I think he's got another 11 pounds in him. We'll see what he can do here. And not quite today for Ryan. But a good performance so far. He is 4 for 6 on the day. So he's got some good momentum to put a pretty good total together. Alex making a pretty big jump here. So he went 10 kilos from his first to his second, now making a 12.5 kilo jump, 172.5. Again, really enjoy seeing he's very technically proficient, real great command of the weight. Let's see what he can do here in his final bench attempt.
Yeah, it's definitely a big jump.
Yeah, great control on the descent. Lets it sink a little bit. Yeah, not quite enough there. Yeah, that's a pretty big jump. You know, it's pretty rare that you see a bigger jump from your second to your third than you do from the first to the second and have it be successful. You'll see that more commonly, say, at a national level meet or at a world level meet where you're really having to jockey for position. You know, here at the local level, it's primarily about just chasing your own numbers. And as Jose was saying earlier, and I was talking to a member of Overload Gym here, Erin. This is the first meet that she's ever attended. And what really struck her was the camaraderie of it, how supportive everybody is, even between people in the same weight classes that are competing at each other. It's an extremely supportive environment. We had some really great, I would say, inspirational lifting from the Masters lifters in the earlier session. Saw some state Masters records get taken down in the Masters 4 division. So that is the 70 to 79 year-old division. Yeah, easy opener for Tomas at 95 kilograms.
Well done. Up next, we've got Abraham. On deck is Francisco.
Abe Wildman Park opening with a nice even 100 kilos there. Saw some really good squatting from him. I hated to see that third attempt get red lighted, because you could tell that he was very excited about it. But, likewise with Charles' third bench attempt, even though he got it up, wasn't enough to satisfy the judges, and I know we'll see a cleaner version of that lift and many more pounds in future meets from them. Let's see what Abe's got here. 220 pounds on the bar. Yeah.
That looked good.
With quite a wingspan to work with, too.
Well done. Up next, we've got Francisco.
So easy opener here. We bump it up to 120 kilos, 264 pounds for Cisco.
Bars loaded for Francisco, 120 kilos.
$120 kilos on the bar here.
That's how it should look on an opener.
Yeah, very nice, efficient one there.
Up next, we've got Tom Davis. On deck is
A
Joshua
good
Bell.
opener should move like that. Now, you don't want it to be that's, the opener is always, it's such a tough call, because you want it to be not so light that you need to make a big jump to your second attempt, but not so heavy that it takes a bunch of energy out of you and takes away what you'll be able to do on your subsequent attempts. So it's always, it's a tough call. I mentioned what my original strategy used to be, which I actually got which was a Jim Wendler recommendation, which I believe he got from John Bott, another great West Side lifter. Again, very conservative on the opener, and then just build from there. Tom Davis at 275 pounds. That is his first official bench press attempt in 3 whites there. So Tom has his first official subtotal in a meet. We'll see more from him. Joshua Melton, likewise, pretty big squatter. He gave 595 pounds, a good ride on his third attempt. Wasn't quite there. He's going to open here at 135 kilograms. Just a touch under 300 pounds in his first official bench press attempt. And that is a very easy opener for Josh.
Good lift.
Good. Up next, we've got Jacob Phillip. On deck is Dominic.
And another first-time competitive lifter, Jake Phillips, 142.5 kilograms.
Bars loaded for Jacob.
We love to see these guys out here for the
Bars
first
loaded
time.
for Jacob.
So this is just a hair under the 3-plate mark. This is 314 pounds on the bar. $314.07 pounds to be exact. Again, very appropriately chosen opener there for Jacob.
Next, we got Dominic. And this looks like it's another
Bar climbs to 160 kilograms
Bennett.
for Dominic. So we got just a couple more.
Let's make some noise. State record attempt.
And a couple more attempts here. The first round of the bench press for this second flight of the second session. £352 here for Dom. Very slow, intentional descent, a very smooth opener. Reminiscent of the legendary Doug Young, who was famous for his very slow, very intentional descent on the bench press. Doug Young, for a stretch, was the lightest man to bench press over 600 pounds in a competition. Legendary lifter from Brownwood, Texas, who unfortunately is no longer with us. David Bennett, opening at the same weight as Dom, 352 pounds there. Again, David now very seasoned lifter. Had a really strong day in the squats. That's a good looking opener.
Looks nice.
Perfect so far on the meet. He had 3 whites, no doubt about it. Ben Lujan now. Now we're getting into what would be a pretty strong squat that we're seeing in the bench press now. Ben Lujan, already saw him squat 705 pounds. And again, Ben's not even in his peak form at the moment.
Sounds like he's opening with a state record.
187.5 kilograms, which is 413 and a quarter pounds. Ben successfully benched 446 pounds at the Ghost Clash in April with some room to spare. But again, Ben not looking to really set any records today, despite the fact that this is a state record attempt.
Just incidental.
It's just incidental, and 3 whites there. Yeah, no doubt about it for Ben. Looking a lot stronger in the bench press than he did in the squat. Jose, maybe you could speak to this, and I have a little bit of experience with cutting weight for a meet. The squat is always the lift where your strength is sapped the most from a weight cut, at least in my experience. And I think that's what we're seeing with Ben as well. He had a real hard weight cut, just barely made weight, and really had to do a lot to get to that 93 kilo threshold. So, again, not on top of not being in his top form, he had to deal with a tough weight cut. So, I wish I would be so fortunate to say, not in my top form. I only squatted 705 today, but the bench press does not seem to be as affected, and that definitely seems to be the case with Ben. Back to the top of the order. Second attempts now starting with Tomas. 102.5. I'd say that is a pretty good looking second attempt. 227 pounds, and he's got a majority decision 2-1. That is a good lift.
Yeah, and as you were saying about the weight cut, I have experienced that, and it's another variable that you have to account for on meet day. Everything could be going a certain way in training. You're training at a certain weight. You have to cut weight, relatively quick turnaround on that, and it could really take some kilos off of your total there. So it's definitely another variable to factor in when you're preparing for a meet.
And not only that, but again, we've talked about some of the differences in the rules for the performance of the lift, but another difference in the rules for Powerlifting America and the International Powerlifting Federation is that the weigh-ins have to occur within 2 hours of the start of the meet. So most other federations, as we see Abe push up a nice smooth 231-pound wild man, Abe Park. Looking forward to seeing what his third attempt can be. Tom Davis bumps it up another 5 kilos from his opener, 130 kilos on bar, 286 pounds. So the weigh-in rules, and we said you have to weigh in within 2 hours of when you begin lifting, as opposed to what is much more common in other organizations, as it is with, say boxing and martial arts, where they give you a full 24 hours to weigh in. And so with a full day between weigh-in and the competition gives you so much more room, so much more opportunity to make a real drastic weight cut if you want to, and then recomp, get all that weight back on before you hit the platform. As Tom gave it a good push off of the chest, but the tricep strength just wasn't quite there. But he's got another attempt. Comes back, maybe he's a little bit more aggressive. Hope to see him get it up on his third. Cisco bumping up 132.5, nice 12.5 kilo jump from his opener. So again, it's virtually impossible to make a really drastic weight cut and then put that weight back on when you've only got 2.5 hours to turn around from when you weigh in and then hit the platform. Extremely challenging conditions there. A real smooth second from Cisco.
Looked good.
And the judges agree, 3 whites there. Josh making a 7.5 kilo jump.
Not in front of the camera.
Shout out to local powerlifting fixture, Dennis Aragon. You saw just grace your screen right there in the maroon Inzer shirt. As Josh Melton takes a 7.5 kilo jump. So first attempt looked pretty easy. I'm actually a little surprised he didn't take more of a, say, a 10 or 12 kilo jump after his first attempt. And yeah, that's a pretty good looking second.
Pretty close grip he's got there too, much like his squat, right?
Yeah, everything nice, nice and close, right? Really just squat utilizing that quad strength, bench press utilizing those tricep strength. You know, we talked about too the different proportions, different limb lengths, different body types are more conducive to different types of lifts. You know, you'll see that you saw all different kinds of squat stance widths, see different kinds of bench grip widths here. It's pretty uncommon to see grips and stances quite as narrow as Josh is taking, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't work. You know, find where you're strong, utilize your strength, play to your strengths. Jacob taking a pretty big 15 kilo jump here. Gives a good push, way to drive it. Very nice, very strong. Second attempt there, 157.5 kilos. David Bennett taking just a 5 kilo jump from his very strong opener there at 160 kilos.
I've noticed in this flight, not a lot of lifters taking the handoff from the spotter.
Yeah, good observation too. That is, you are able to get a hand. So again, so many things that, in terms of technical rules, that are unique to Powerlifting America and the IPF. So you are allowed to get a liftoff, but the liftoff in Powerlifting America has to come from one of the designated spotters and loaders, whereas in other organizations you are allowed to have your own, say a friend, training partner, your mom, whoever, can lift off for you there. As David gets a pretty easy second attempt, 165 kilos there. Dominic had a pretty strong first attempt, taking a 10 kilo jump, 22 pound jump from his opening attempt. He's going to go up to 170 kilos here. 374 pounds on the bar, getting some big weights here for the bench press. Very nice second attempt, good command of the weight there. And the judges say it's a good lift there.
3 white lights.
Ben taking a pretty conservative 7.5 kilo jump up to 195 kilos. Just a hair under 430 pounds. It's 429.78 pounds on the bar. Again, this is somebody who's got a respectably strong pair of legs for arms here. So Ben is going to elect to take, it looks like he's going to take a lift off here. The advantage here is that you're able to maybe keep your shoulder in your upper back position if somebody else helps you out of the rack. It's a little less energy that you have to use to pull it out of the rack and stabilize it in that start position there. As Ben takes a lift off from spotter extraordinaire Patricio. Gives it a good push. He drives it up. Let's see what the judges say. Yeah, that's a good 3 white lights. Yeah, there we go. Let's see what Ben does on his third attempt. Doesn't look like there's a lot of pounds in reserve left. So let's see what he does. I would expect a 2.5, maybe a 5 kilo jump. I would say 2.5 kilo jump there. As Ben has decided to pass, I think wisely so, after setting 2 open state records in the bench press. So looking forward to see what Ben does in the deadlift. And this is Jose Chacon, a.k.a. Tomas. Taking 105 kilos, 231 pounds on the bar here. And I would say a very reasonable jump, 2.5 kilo jump from that second attempt. Not too aggressive, but that is the minimum jump as well. So minimum jump between attempts has got to be 2.5 kilos. The only exception being if you're going for a national or a world record, you are allowed to take 1 kilo jumps, but only in that situation. Real strong push, hits that, oh, not quite enough. Not quite enough strength in the triceps there. Gave it a real good push off of the chest, real good pop once he got that press command, but it's not enough tricep strength to finish it. As Abraham Park jumps up to 242 pounds, 110 kilograms on the bar. Jose, do you know if this will be a personal record for Abe?
Yes, I believe it will be for platform PR. And I think it's right in line with Abe's game plan. You know, at the gym, I asked him, hey, what are you planning on hitting? Pretty much everything he's told me, he's come through with. So
let's see what he's got there. Good unrack of the bar. Good control down. Oh, no problem at all. Able to be very strong today. Great training from Abe. Great momentum.
He had more in the tank there.
Absolutely. So lots of momentum left. Abe, I know, is planning on competing at Nationals in March and going for some even bigger numbers. So, I was talking with some lifters earlier from the first session about, you don't always need to go to an absolute max, even if it's a PR on your third attempt. If you hit a PR and it's still easy, all right, that's good. You got a PR. But then it gives you a little bit of room to still build some momentum, right? You got a little bit of strength in reserve, a little bit of momentum to roll you into whatever your next meet is. Because then if all your lifts were grinders, you've got to work that much harder to then try to push them up the next time around. As Tom comes back on his third attempt, 130 kilos. What did the judges say? Oh, no lift. No lift. Interesting. I wonder what the
red and yellow cards.
Did he jump one of the commands? Did you see? Could you tell what happened there?
I didn't see that. So, worth mentioning that our point of view, we're not on the floor. We're not anywhere near the platform. We're in another room.
Yeah. And it's tough on the bench, especially because it's, as we had mentioned, that butt has to stay in contact with the bench the entire time. Feet have to stay flat in contact with the ground the whole time. So it's hard to say if that was perhaps the infraction there. But nevertheless, Tom has got a good squat. He's got a good bench. So he's got a subtotal rolling into the deadlifts in his first meet here. Cisco looking to go 3 for 3 in the bench. And not quite. Again, strong push off of the chest. Just not enough in the arms there to finish it off. Joshua Melton making a 5 kilo jump. 147.5 pounds, about 147.5 kilograms It's far more than 147.5 pounds. This is actually 325 pounds on the bar right now for Josh's final bench press attempt.
With the old school Chuck Taylor shoes on.
Yeah, that is a throwback right there. It looked good. Judges agree. 3 whites. Good benching from Josh there. Okay, Jacob looking to stay perfect. He's 5 for 5 so far in his first meet. Makes a 5 kilo jump to 162.5 pounds. 162.5 kilos. Apologies, I was raised on freedom units. You know, Jose, there's 2 kinds of units of measurements in the world. There's the metric system and the system that took us to the moon. This is 358 pounds on the bar here. See if he's got it here. Very strong day so far. And not quite. You saw that bar kind of shift a little bit right off the chest. Gave it a good push right at the start. It seemed like he lost a little bit. David Bennett taking another 5 kilo jump, and that second attempt didn't look too difficult. So he's going to 170 kilos. 374.68 pounds on the bar. He's already got a personal record squat.
David, 170 kilos.
Let's see if he boosted his total here with his 170 kilo attempt. Very strong.
Very fast, too.
No, it doesn't look no difficulty on any of his bench press attempts. So that's so far a perfect day for David Bennett. He's 6 for 6. I don't even know if he's gotten any red lights yet. All right. We're going to go to Dominic now. 175 kilograms on the bar.
Getting pumped up for his last bench attempt.
He has 385 pounds on the bar there. Similarly to David, his first 2 bench attempts, very strong, good command of the weight. Again, very intentional descent.
Very patient.
And just not quite enough to finish the lift there. That's pretty solid so far. Well, that finishes the bench press. Saw some very strong benching, some really solid lifting so far in this second session. So we're going to take a 10-minute break before we kick off the deadlift here. I'm looking forward to seeing some very strong pulls as well. There's the lay of the land right there.
So we got some good deadlifts coming up here.
We did. And unfortunately, just one bomb out so far in the second session.
It's experience. I think obviously as you get more meets under your belt, a little more competition, become more proficient at the rules, at how you feel that day. It's bombing out is going to be, not a regular occurrence.
Yeah, very much so. And like you said, Jose, experience, the more meets you can do, the better you get at it. Obviously, you maybe don't want to do one like on a monthly basis, something like that. But, I think usually, especially as a beginner, you could probably handle somewhere between 3 to 4 a year. And especially if you're not, again, just really getting the meet experience, there's no need to really push to a true max, especially in those first few meets. When I've coached total beginner powerlifters, that was always the goal, was like, let's just go 9 for 9, be successful in each of your attempts, really focus more on on execution. Want to try to, if we can, let's try to get a personal record on that third attempt if it's there. But the biggest thing is just really building that confidence, building up that experience. You know, the more times you've been in meet situations, the better you'll be in them in the future.
Exactly.
So, on that note, we'll take a quick break here. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just about 10 minutes here to wrap up the final session of the 4th edition of the Powerlifting America Overload Classic. And he finally figured out how to deadlift too.
All right, we're getting started here on the third lift, being the deadlift.
You know, Jose, as they say in this sport, the meat doesn't start until the bar hits the floor. So it doesn't really matter what you hit in your squat and your bench press, because you got to finish off with at least one good deadlift. This can also be fairly exciting too, because we had talked about earlier different builds, different body proportions, making for lifters being stronger in a particular lift. Usually what you'll see is somebody who's maybe a little bigger, blockier, as Nicholas pulls a very easy 165 kilo opener. What you'll usually see is the kind of bigger, barrel-chested, maybe shorter-limbed guys. Very good in the squat and in the bench press. They'll put up a very big subtotal, and especially in a national or a world meet situation, build a really big lead going into the deadlift. But then you'll see the longer, lankier guys that maybe aren't as good as squatters. Maybe they've got a really big wingspan to overcome, and they can't put up a big bench press. But then you get to the deadlift, and those tables will turn as Miguel. Just a little off balance there. Yeah, just off balance there. Came up. The weight was no problem, but just misgrooved it right at the top. We saw some of that in the first session, and we nearly had a very dramatic finish to the deadlifts there in the first session. We almost had a lifter bomb out after a pretty successful run in the squat and the bench press. Missed his first two deadlifts attempts. Again, not because the weight was a challenge, but he was just ever so slightly out of his groove as he got right to the top of the lift and it threw him forward. He couldn't quite finish it. And interestingly, his first and his second attempts were the same weight, and then he bumped it up. It was either 2.5 or 5 kilos on his third in a very do-or-die situation, and was able to finish it. So, maybe he just needed a little bit more pressure.
Yeah, the pressure was there for sure. Some people thrive under that.
And Rudy with a very easy deadlift opener as well. I would say, Jose, I wonder if you have a similar philosophy on deadlift opener, but out of the three lifts, this is always the one where I want to open relatively lighter than in the squat and the bench press, given that you're never really sure how much the squat and the bench press is going to take out of you. Never really know what the conditions of the meet and the facility are going to be. Like I can recall in the Midwest, one meet in particular I did in Evansville, Indiana, that was in essentially a barn in the middle of summer with no HVAC, no air conditioning, and just the sweat and the humidity took so much out of me. It really kind of nuked my total there. But yeah, as you see here, the deadlift openers look easier relative to the bench press. Easy for Ryan, but almost too easy. Looks like a little dip, a little drop in the bar at the top before he got the down. But they give him still a good lift. I could see how they could have given it a red gauge on technical. You can actually see here, head referee Colin Rhodes giving Ryan just a little bit of a heads up just to make sure he doesn't make the same mistake there. Alex opening at 484 pounds here.
Yeah, and I agree with you taking it a little easy on the opener for the deadlift. Because there's variables on that day. Unless you're doing SBD days throughout your entire training, but you don't always know how you're going to be by that deadlift time. So definitely, being a little conservative with it. I think that's a good strategy.
That's exactly right. Again, as we said, especially at a local level meet like this where you're really only chasing your own numbers, you're not as concerned with fighting for placings, anything like that. It's always good idea to open pretty light on the deadlift. Isaiah Chavez opening with 490 pounds at 222.5 kilograms. That's an easy opener for Isaiah. Good command of the weight. And Aaron Underwood shipping it up to 4 red 25 kilogram plates each side. 225 kilos, 496 pounds. I think with enough chalk and dead skin on the bar, that might get it to about 500 pounds. But nominally, that is 496 pounds of calibrated Eleiko weight. Eleiko with their proprietary Swedish steel alloy that they use for those barbells there. Again, very easy opener for Aaron.
It looked good.
3 whites there. Yeah, some very, I think, great attempt select, great opener selections through this first flight here. We chip it again to now bring it over just over a quarter ton, 501 pounds for Charles Ortiz. Charles already got a state record, junior 74 kilogram class bench press record. And just looking to build this total. I believe his deadlift PR is 540 pounds, 245 kilos. Very, very easy. Again, Charles, very explosive lifter.
I notice he uses the hook grip for his deadlift. I could never do that. I've never gotten used to having that, just that pressure and pain on my thumbs during that deadlift. So
there's trade-offs for sure. You know, it helps. It really helps make your arms a little bit longer, just so you're not actively having to hold on to the weight with the mixed grip at all. As Adam sets up for a 230 kilo opener again, really impressive rebound from the squats for Adam. See what he can do here in the deadlift. Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, you can see just a little out of the groove. The weight, no problem. Just, you know, sometimes, Jose, with these openers, if they're too light, you get too fired up, as you saw. Miguel was a good example. Almost too light and too fast going into the top there, and you lose your balance. And as we've talked about, you know, it can... you know, the nerves, the dump of adrenaline as you step up onto the platform, you can kind of lose your focus a little bit. And
yeah, it seems like your natural instinct is going to be to throw the same amount of momentum and force into it. But if it's just a much lighter weight, it's going to throw off your balance.
Nicholas sets up a pretty big jump there, but still very easy, even with a 22.5 kilo jump from his opener. Still looking very easy. And very... very conservative deadlift attempt selection for him. I don't know. Jose, do you know if this is his first meet? It doesn't seem like it. Seems very comfortable here, but some surprising attempt selections, especially in the deadlift, looking almost too easy for him. All right, Miguel, as we were just saying, the weight was not a challenge. Likewise with the bench press and his first squat attempt, just some nerves, a little jumpy. Missed it on some technicalities here, so let's see if he can just dial in his technique to get a little bit more focused here so we can get a good deadlift attempt. And, of course, Miguel is not going to be eligible for any overall awards as he does get up that second attempt there, 192.5 kilos, and the judges say it's a good lift there. Yeah, so because Miguel failed to make any successful bench press attempts, he will not post a total. So while he can still shoot for a big deadlift here, he's out of the running for any overall titles. Is Rudy Gutierrez. He jumps up 12.5 kilos. You know, and as Jose mentioned during the squats as well, we'll start to see some bigger jumps than we did in the bench press, even probably more so than in the squat, as we already saw from Nicholas at the beginning, taking a rather unique 22.5 kilo jump.
You know, Bill, I noticed on Rudy's collar it says dots are greater than total. Is that a sentiment that you agree with?
I do not agree with that. Well, also at the same time, well, part of that too is, you know, for best overall lifter that they give out local level meets like that, it is done by typically by some sort of formula. Dots is one of them, but the weight class winners are determined by totals, and that is what you chase at the end of the day. After all, you know, there is something to be said to always be pushing not just your absolute strength but your relative strength as well. So, you know, especially as you're younger, you see not so much in this session, but in the first session with the lighter weight classes and so many younger kids that were pretty long, lean, lanky. I was even half joking with some of them after the session that they needed to gain a substantial amount of weight, but you know, more mass will move more weight. So it does behoove you to gain weight over the course of your competitive career. That's Ryan Roth. Deadlifts pretty easily 230 kilos. Again, a little bit more weight ended up making for a cleaner lift there for Ryan. So I'm sure we'll see a little bit more. Same weight for Alex here, 230 kilos, 10 kilo jump from his opener. But going back to the point about the kind of the formulas versus the absolute weight, you know, of course the big goal is to just move more weight, but you do want to make sure, it is a good idea to make sure that your strength gains are commensurate with your body weight gains as well. We go to Isaiah Chavez, who also had a very easy opener. No real, again, the only issues that we saw with the openers, it was not so much the weight, just some technical issues that we saw here. Isaiah, however, no issues whatsoever on his opener at 490 pounds. Now he's going to go to 237.5 kilos. Strong off the ground, strong lockout. Yeah, real good. Good pulling from Isaiah so far with a little bit left in reserve. Again, I think a very, very reasonable second attempt selection from him. We go to Aaron Underwood, 15 kilo jump from his opening attempt, 240 kilos. So this is the final Powerlifting America meet in New Mexico this year.
It's been a great year of meets so far this year.
And a very exciting year. We already have a very stacked meet calendar for next year as Aaron pulls a very strong 240 kilos. Yeah, a little harder than his opener, but still leaving some strength in reserve for his third attempt. As Charles Ortiz goes to 240 kilos, which I believe it might tie his competition. No, I am wrong. It's 428 pounds here. Sorry, 528 pounds. 528 pounds for his second attempt. I believe is still a touch under his competition PR.
Come on!
And Charles, very explosive lifter. Yeah, very strong, really solid lockout. And that is a good lift.
3 wide legs.
And that is just a hair under his competition PR of 545 pounds.
Bars loaded for Adam.
Adam, again, not an issue with the weight. Just, again, you know, as we talked about, Jose, it might have just been a little too light for him. on his opener. So I think that 12.5 kilo jump he's taken, despite missing his opener, probably a good decision to help build his total. And sure enough, there you go. Yeah, just a little bit more weight to pull against, help kind of anchor you into it. And he did get a red, maybe released the bar a little too soon on the way down. But side judges both give him whites. And that's good enough for a good deadlift attempt. So he's got a total now. It's been a tough day for Adam. But he is going to post a total as we go to the top of the order for third attempts, the first flight. Likewise, Miguel's had a little bit of a tough go today. Let's see if he can finish off at a strong 440 pounds on his last attempt here. That looks good. What did the judges say? That's a good lift, 3 white. So a rough day, but a great way to bounce back from the bomb out on the bench press to finish with 440-pound deadlift. So I think Miguel's got a lot more pounds in him. It's just like Jose, I think as you rightly said, it's just really a matter of getting more experience in. Again, this is only, it's his second meet, but his first meet was less than 2 months ago when he entered his first competition.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's, it's a quick turnaround. It's only a couple of months. And yeah, I really hope to see Miguel in the future meets, upcoming. And he has a lot of strength in him. Really excited to see him get that experience.
So Nicholas taking another big jump there, 22.5 kilos for 210, but still good. Took a little effort on that one, but far from a max effort lift there to go 3 for 3 on the deadlift. Rudy Gutierrez also looking to go 3 for 3 on the deadlift, 220 kilos, 484 pounds. 485 if you want to round up with the decimals in there. Again, I would say that's a pretty reasonable spread. A 12.5 kilo jump from his opener to his second, then 7.5 from his second to his third. As takes a little effort. Looks good. What did the judges say? Yeah, 3 whites. 3 whites. Good lifting from Rudy today. Alex going up to 235 kilos. Just a potato chip under 518 pounds. 517.96 pounds now, rather, on the bar. 235 kilograms. You can see Patricio giving a little brush of the bar on there.
Yeah, very important on the third attempt, I think. Builds up a lot of chalk on there, throughout the deadlift session. Good to get that knocked off there.
Really does, because that bar's got, the illegal bar's got some pretty sharp knurling on it, but man, you can definitely get it caked up enough with chalk to where it totally nullifies that knurling. As Alex, real strong pull there. Looked good. What did the judges say? As he tries to keep the lights on there, but that's a good lift, 2 to 1. Again, some very technically sound lifting from Alex today. Real good command of the weight. Really had to fight to get that one, to get that deadlift off of the floor, but kept his back in position, kept his hips low enough so he could get some leverage behind it. It's a good way to finish the day. Ryan Roth going to 242.5 kilograms here. Likewise, it was a close call on his opener, because as we've seen with so many other people in this fight, it was almost too easy for him. And then that second attempt looked better than his first did. Let's see what he can do here on his third. 242 22.5 kilograms. 534 pounds. And a struggle at the top. Can't quite get those hips through. Hard to tell from this angle, but now ends up losing the grip. And likewise, kind of fighting to keep the lights on there, but makes sense given the effort he put into it. But overall, a decent day from Ryan.
It's a good try, good attempt. Definitely want to see what you got on meet day.
247.5 kilos. On deck is Adam.
All right, Isaiah Chavez had some good-looking pulls so far today.
10-kilo jump.
A 10-kilo jump. Again, on paper, I think a pretty good spread in terms of deadlift selection. Pretty easy opener at 222.5. Good 15-kilo jump. 33-pound jump on his second at 237.5. Now he's going to go 247.5. What you see now is newly minted judge Stephen Potter and Tricio, spotter loader extraordinaire, spraying down the bar there. So something that can happen here, and something you might notice during the deadlifts here, is all the lifters have to wear knee-length socks, and that's because we had just talked about the knurling. That bar's got a little bit of a bite to it. The socks are on there to help keep the knurling from cutting into the shins as the bar is dragged at the legs, and it prevents from the lifter's blood getting on it. However, it's not a foolproof little barrier there. What you will see occasionally is, especially, it can still catch the thighs. It can still dig into the shins enough through the socks to get a little blood on there. What you can also see, too, is a torn callus of the hand when the grip fails. You can also get a little blood on the bar from that. And that is something that we'll want to get cleaned off, if it does, so as not to spread any bloodborne diseases. So you saw Stephen and Patricio spraying some ammonia, some bleach on there and wiping it down just to make sure that bar is clean and keep the lifters healthy. As Isaiah sets up for 247.5.
He's got it up.
He's close. Oh, no, the knees are rebending a little bit. He gets it up. And what do the judges have to say? Yeah, that's what I thought. So a great fight to finish it from Isaiah, but not quite at 545 pounds. It would have counted in strongman, where it's a anything goes attitude, sort of get the bar up any which way you can. But in powerlifting, it's got to be one smooth, clean motion from the floor to lockout. So you cannot rest it on the thighs, can't extend and then rebend the knees to try to get some more leverage underneath it, or lean back and try to ramp that bar up the legs. Got to be one smooth, clean motion. As Adam, another one of these Flight 1 lifters, to where that opener was just too light for him, came back, crushed his second. He's got 551 pounds loaded up on the bar here. Again, tough start for Adam, but he rebounded really well on the bench press. See if he could finish off here. His last deadlift attempt. Looks good. He holds his positions. It's a clean lockout. Let's see what the judges say. That's a good lift.
3 white lights.
Good lift. Very nicely done. Great finish. Great finish from Adam after a really tough go with the squats there. Charles Ortiz now going for a little bit of a meet PR. Prior best at 545 pounds that he pulled back at the state games. Same weight on the bar as Adam, 250 kilos.
Now, it looks like we might have had a ref change.
Looks like we did. Newly minted ref Stephen Potter, who is far from new to powerlifting. He's been competing for a number of years now. And Jose, just like you and I, Stephen, hailing from the Midwest, now finds himself in the Southwest. Charles going for a PR deadlift here. Little shake, but he stays with it. What do the judges say? Good lift. That's a PR deadlift. A great day.
Strong
for Charles.
showing from Charles today.
Very good lifting from Charles today. Comes away with a state bench press record. And again, overcoming, especially in the squat, came back, hit a PR squat after dealing with that IT band issue for a number of months that forced him to really pull back. Not just the state games. He was even having issues with it all the way back in March at the Duke City Showdown. And it looks like he's worked through it. And he's making PRs again. Aaron Under with 255 kilos on the bar here. And pretty strong day from Aaron. He's got a good pull off the floor. That looks pretty good. That's a pretty quick down command. What do the judges say? That's a good lift, no doubt about it. And that finishes up the first flight. The one and only Abe Park is going to kick us off here for the final flight of the day, opening at 185 kilos. You know, we've seen, Jose, you and I have seen Abe's deadlifts. Like with his other lifts, he's been looking very strong, been really working into new territory on the deadlift.
Yeah, he's a very disciplined lifter. Very motivated. Always see him in the gym. Trying to hit new numbers, new PRs, and very goal-oriented lifter too.
Yeah, nice, easy, beautiful deadlift opener. Yeah, 3 whites, no doubt about it. Going up now, I'm just going to open to 225, 496 pounds. Something that I always thought was interesting about Abe is he holds that bar very low in his hands. It's very reminiscent of one of the greatest deadlifters of all time, Andy Bolton, who was a big advocate of that. Andy Bolton, of course, the first man to officially pull 1,000 pounds in competition. Pulled 1,003 back in Lake George at the WPC Worlds back in 2006. He would go on a couple years later to chip that up to 1,008 pounds. Wow. But he would carry that bar. He would grip that bar really low in his fingers. He wouldn't try to dig his palm into it, but I never recall ever seeing him have a grip issue as Dominic pulls a strong 225 kilos for his opener. Cisco opened in at 235 kilos.
It seems a little counterintuitive. I would think, the heavier the weight, the more you want to grip it, get your full hand around there, but obviously not.
Yeah, part of that I'm sure has to do with the size of your palm, the size of your fingers. One issue you do have, we had mentioned the issue of calluses tearing during a heavy pull. There's a trade-off where if you really dig that palm deep, or dig the bar rather deep into the palm, it's very secure, but it's sitting right above the calluses. And if that bar starts to roll or move, it's where it starts to bunch up and grip those calluses as Cisco hits an easy opener 235. And that's where the callus tears will come from. It's from if the bar's sitting a little too high, it starts to catch those calluses. And then if you're lucky, it'll only take a little skin off. If you're unlucky, it's going to take a lot of skin off, and it's going to tear right through the dermis, and you're going to be bleeding on the bar a little bit there. Great opener for Tom. Very efficient deadlift technique there. Kind of how we mentioned before, there's different builds are conducive to the different lifts. Tom, pretty tall dude, pretty long limbs, very efficient deadlift technique there. Had a strong squat, had a tough go, missed that opener just because he stepped forward a little bit on it. Good day, and decent day in the bench press as well. But with that successful opening attempt, that gives him his first official powerlifting total, as Tomas opens it the same way, 235 right there. Very strong. Likewise, Tomas, similar build to Tom, tall, long limb guy. The deadlift is definitely his best lift. we go to Josh Melton. And Jose, I'm going to be totally thrown for a loop if he sets up with a sumo stance.
I was just gonna say, it's the bigger guys are typically, right. The conventional stance. Smaller guys are usually utilizing those leverages more for the sumo.
I'm thinking especially with his squat stance, right? That's
Might surprise us.
Josh opening at 260. He's had a good day so far. And that's a very clean opening attempt right there. Mm-hmm. Again, likewise, it's some all appropriate opening attempts so far. Came into the same weight for David Bennett. So we mentioned earlier this was already a very exciting year for Powerlifting America in New Mexico. Four meets so far this year. This being the last one. A speedy deadlift from David. That's a great opener there. Jacob could have chipped up 262.5 for his opener, his first official deadlift attempt. Next year, we've already got a great-looking calendar for Powerlifting America here in New Mexico. The first meet of the year, we're going to have a little bit of a winter break. First meet of the year is going to be back in Albuquerque. Powerlifting is returning to Iron Soul Gym on March 28th, 2026 for the Duke City Showdown 4. Really looking forward to hosting a meet there with Iron Soul. Really excited for that. It's going to be a great venue. As Jake locks into 262.5. Yeah, no problem. Strong opener for Jacob. And Jacob's got his first official total there. Ben initially was going to open at about 310. Again, we talked about some of his struggles with the weight cut and not being in his peak form right now. He's only going to open at 661 here, Jose. Just a light, easy 661.
Yeah, you don't want to overexert yourself,
No, not at all. No, you want to keep it light, manageable. So Duke City Showdown for March 28th, 2026 at Iron Soul Gym in Albuquerque. And already on the calendar, we have the return of what was the biggest meet of the year and what will be even bigger and better. That is the New Mexico State Games at the Balloon Fiesta Park. Wonderful venue. Really enjoyed it. Had a great time. Some outstanding lifting and some great team competition from the Bernalillo County Fire and Rescue. As Ben, pulls a nice, easy 300 kilos. And what do they say? 2-1, but good enough. Maybe they call him for maybe a little bit of a hitch at the top. Hard to say. Be interesting to see what Ben does for the rest of his attempts. I would like to see him at least match his squat. We could see a 700-pound pull here, but again, Ben just looking for a total here and just to get some meet experience in his first Powerlifting America meet. Far from his first meet, but his first one with us in Powerlifting America as he aims to go to nationals in March. So July 11th and 12th, 2026 will be the State Games Championships, which, Jose, I really think that will be the highlight of next year, but really I think was also the highlight meet of this year as well.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I participated as a lifter. It went great. Very well run, very organized meet. So it's awesome venue. Really, if you want that like nationals type experience, I think that's a great meet for that. But also, we do actually have nationals next year, and there's going to be a lot of representation from New Mexico. A lot of local lifter. Obviously, the lifters lifting today are going to be there. We've got some reigning champs. Robert Lazarin's going to be lifting there. Hopefully, myself, Bill, you too. We're going to have a great time, and it's a great federation. Powerlifting America is.
So you saw Abe pull an easy 200 kilo, 440-pound deadlift. Dominic locking into 235 here. Oh, not quite. Oh, that's surprising. His opener looked very strong. I wonder if maybe he tweaked something hope he's healthy. Hope he comes back and gives that another go. Because again, that opener looked very easy, and it was only a 22-pound jump from his opener. Again, pretty good day of benching, good day of squatting from Dom as well. Tomas is the next lifter, 247.5 kilos. And Jose, I think it was a great way to describe the state games. We really, given the venue, the level of production, that is maybe the closest you will get to the feel of a national level meet at the local level, and it will be even bigger than last year. Also we were talking about a great team competition, and a great three-way competition between the Bernalillo County Fire and Rescue Department, NTV Games, and the Lobo barbell team. Is Tomas having to work a little bit for it. Oh, he just gets stuck
So
just
close.
above the knees. Can't quite get those hips through. Oh, very good. Gave it a good run. Again, let's see if he comes back with maybe just a little more aggression. Maybe if he digs down and finds some pent-up rage, he can come back and finish it at lockout, because he gave it a really good push off the floor as the bar is loaded up to 255 kilos for Tom Davis, looking to build his first official total. As we had mentioned, he's a tall guy, long limbs. The deadlift is really his lift, so I'd expect to see a good attempt here from Tom, and then even more on his third. That's a very smooth second attempt. A great second attempt from Tom. 562 pounds there. We go back to Cisco. 257.5 kilos for Cisco. After the state games in July, we also have on the calendar, already sanctioned, is the return of the 3-day state fair championships. As Francisco, again, likewise, a very strong second attempt there. And as Josh makes a 66, or no, I thought that was 240. Sorry, 10-kilo jump. Misread what that opener was. No, this is just a 10-kilo jump. I thought it said 240. Not only is my memory fading as I get older, my eyesight is as well. And it wasn't great to begin with. So, successful 260 opener for Josh, going to 270. 595 pounds. He gave this weight a run on his third squat attempt. Couldn't quite stand up with it. He's going to try to give it a good pull here. Likewise, I believe this is Josh's first meet as well, so looking to build his first official total. Little shake of the legs, but he powers through it. Judges say, oh, no lift. They might have said maybe a little bit of the knees locking and unlocking. We talked about how it's got to be that one smooth motion up. Hard to say. You saw the other side judge give it a white. I could have seen it go either way, but I'm sure Josh will come back for that. Maybe even attempt a little bit more. He could chip it over to 600. As David Bennett now takes the bar for 600 pounds for this round of attempts. 280 kilos. 617 pounds on the bar for David Bennett.
You mentioned the state fair meet. That one's a lot of fun. Outdoors, few days, and it's at the state fair. So it's a lot of good food once you're done lifting, or at least after you weigh in.
It is a great atmosphere. I've always had a ton of fun of doing meets at bigger events like that, such as expos.
Nice pull.
A great easy pull from David. Let's see where he goes. He made a 20-kilo jump from his opener. I would like to see him make another 20-kilo jump to get that nice round 300-kilo deadlift, but let's see what he's thinking. Also not sure what his PR is, but just given how fast that weight moved, I'm guessing he's That second is nowhere near PR territory. As Jacob Phillips takes it 282.5, 620 pounds here. Likewise, in his first meet, looking to just build his total, his first official total here. That looked like it came even faster off the floor than his first attempt did. And that is another good lift. Ben just chipping it up a little bit, 310 kilos, 683 pounds now. And a nice, easy one. Again, like with the squat, going through a tough weight cut tends to take a little bit of strength out of your deadlift. Again, Ben just looking to add to his powerlifting resume here today, though not that he was aiming for it, he did set a state open record in the bench press. Locks into that bar. I would say even better than his first attempt looked. Yeah, and that's a good lift. That's a good lift. And so let's see if he takes another 10-kilo jump there. As we get to the top of the order to finish off the last round of deadlifts here. Abe Park, as you mentioned, he's been looking strong, not just today, but the last few months really leading up into this meet. 210 kilos on the bar, each of his 2 attempts thus far have looked pretty easy. Pretty easy. I would expect this to be no different in... Jose, correct me if I'm wrong. I do believe he just pulled this in training as well.
Yes, yeah, I believe so. Abe showing some love to the spotters.
And no problem.
Yeah, it's a good lift.
3 whites. A good day for Abe.
It's a platform PR for him.
Very nearly went 9 for 9 today. Really tough call on that final squat. He stood up with it. It wasn't low enough to convince the judges, but he did go 3 for 3 in the bench press. He matched his bench press PR. I talked to him after the bench press, see if that was in fact a competition PR. He said he matched it. We did mention he was looking strong, but he said, in spite of how training had gone, he wasn't super confident in his bench press leading up to this. So he considered tying his bench press PR win today, but he does come away with the big deadlift PR. Dom giving it a much better pull. What do the judges say?
They like
that's a good lift. That's a good way to bounce back. Hey, that just barely came off of the ground last time. Some real mental fortitude there to come back there for Dom after barely moving it on that second.
Yeah, that's got to be tough. I would imagine it kind of crushes your confidence a little bit, but you just got to stay focused, stay determined, stick to the game plan, grab it and let it rip.
Maybe Josh was listening to me when I said, just chip at 2.5 kilos so you make it at even 600 pounds. Again, it came up pretty easy, got turned down on a technicality. So we know, I think the strength is there. Let's see if we can just clean it up a little bit more to convince the judges. It wasn't unanimous. It was just 2-1. What do the judges say? I say that looked good, but what do they say on the platform? And they agree. It's 2-1. 2-1. Enough to change Carlos's mind there. There you go. So a 600-pound deadlift. It's a really strong pull for first competition there. It's a good day for Joshua. Tom Davis looking to also get 600 pounds in his first meet. Handled by UNM Law legend Dennis Aragon.
Well, I understand Dennis was doing the commentating in the first session.
Oh, was he? Oh, man. Well, I hope, Jose, we can only hope to live up to the standards of Dennis's commentating skills. And Tom has had some very, very good-looking, very smooth-looking deadlifts. Again, this is only his first meet. That's a really strong pull for being his first competition. Let's see what he can do. Comes fast off the floor. Oh, very smooth. I'd say that's good. What do the judges say? Yeah, very strong start. Very strong start after that shaky start, coming back after standing up with his first squat, but just jumping the rack command and missing it. But yeah, he's just picked up more momentum as he's gotten further into the meet. So great lifting from Tom. I hope we see him back on the platform in March at the Duke City Showdown. As we throw it over to Francisco, chipping up a little more to 275. 606 pounds on the bar here. As we get into some big weights here. It's been a good day of lifting. Great work from the spotters and loaders. We have had 0 misloads today. All the weights have been loaded correctly. As Francisco, a little trouble as he gets to the knees, but stays with it. Gets a nice quick down command. And the judges say, oh, interesting. Wonder what that was. Maybe for kind of the double knee bend. Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one there. Jacob Phillips looking to finish off his first meet on a strong note. And a pretty conservative 5-kilo jump from a second, 11 pounds up from that second attempt. Both of his attempts have looked very strong. And he's had a good day overall. And just looking to build his first official powerlifting total. Fast off the floor. Oh, not quite enough to get past the knees. A lot of momentum coming off the floor. Not quite, but again, I think we're going to see a lot more from Jake in future meets. There is David Bennett. I feel like the Tony Romo of powerlifting here, just calling the shots on these third attempts, man. Yeah. So 300 kilos here for David Bennett. His prior deadlift PR is 290 kilos. So this will be a 10-kilo personal record for 661 pounds. His prior PR came just a year ago, 1 full year ago at the prior Overload Classic. And he's looking to improve on that now. Likewise, you've seen both of his attempts have looked very strong, very confident. See if he can pull in the big 300 keys. Good pull off the floor, and yeah, it looks like he's got it. Very strong. What do the judges say? Yeah, 3 white. No doubt about it. Very strong. All right, the last lift of the day. It's been a great day of lifting. Very exciting day. Again, likewise, huge thanks to the spotters and loaders for both precise loading, no misloads today, keeping everyone safe, no accidents, great catches on some heavy squats and the benches. Big thanks to all the judges that have helped out today as well. Big thanks to this table staff, people working the door. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, a lot of help that needs to come together to put a good meet like this.
Yeah, an Overload gym as well. It's it's a staple of New Mexico powerlifting. So big thanks to Overload.
So let's see if Ben can finish off with a big pull here. Stands tall with it and not quite stalls out as he gets to the knees. But we saw some very good lifting from Ben already. State record in the bench press in the 705 squat. Nothing to complain about. That would have tied his PR from April with the Ghost Clash. But again, we are guaranteed to see more from Ben in the future. There's the lay of the land from the second session here Very good day of lifting. Some really strong lifting
Yeah.
from first-time lifters as well. You know, I think New Mexico is a small, relatively obscure state. Man, do we have some really solid powerlifting talent coming up through the ranks.
Yeah, it's a great powerlifting community, and like I said, I'm really looking forward to seeing the representation for the state of New Mexico. Not just here at the local meets, but also on the national level. Once we get to national seasons with the age division nationals, open nationals, equipped nationals, as well as university and high school nationals. So I think we've got a lot of great lifters going to all of those meets.
And even look beyond the national level, as we do have some reigning continental champions in Alita Sharp, Masters North American champion, Robert Lazarin, both reigning Open National and Open North American champion, looking to make it to the world stage next year, as well as some other strong Masters lifters going into the world level. And maybe we'll see some people at Bench Worlds, perhaps a comeback. There are rumors of Michael Zawalinski making a bench press comeback next year. Jose, what's the likelihood that we'll see that big bear back on the platform?
I think we'll see it. I think it's definitely in the future. And I think there's another reigning national champ that you didn't mention. Who's? Oh, you.
Oh, did I win a national championship? I did happen to win a national championship last year.
So you'll be
How about
defending your title this year. So we're looking forward to all of that.
So thanks for tuning in, everybody. We hope you enjoyed it. If you like this, please let us know in the comments. Drop some comments, also subscribe to Mass Lift for live streaming of not just all of these meets, but some quality streaming from national, international level competitions. And if you're in the New Mexico area, check out our meet calendar for next year. We had mentioned we've already got a great slate of meets for next year, beginning in March with the Duke City Showdown in Albuquerque, followed by the State Games Championships, also in Albuquerque at the Balloon Fiesta Park. And then on the calendar already in September next year, we'll be back at the New Mexico State Fair. And there are some other meets in the works throughout the state as well. I have a feeling we'll be back here in November as well, Jose, in Santa Fe for the 5th edition of the Overload Classic. So whether you're a beginner, you're a veteran, young, old, jump into a meet, come lift with us. It's a great time, and we hope to see you on the platform. Jose, any final words for the audience here?
Just some great lifts, and happy everyone came out and gave it their all, and happy you all tuned in to check this out.